And what's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Today, Terrell and I, we're going to be reviewing Moon Knight, just coming to Disney Plus March 30th. It's going to be 6 episodes, releasing a new episode weekly to the finale lands on your TV screens May 4th. With it being 6 episodes, they're about an hour each, and this is a highly anticipated series. A lot of people may have had mixed feelings about going into it. There's things I'm definitely going to address about it, but we did get a chance to check out the first 4 episodes of it, so I think we got a little more than enough of a opinion, or should we say a little, or maybe a little more than enough of a decision as to what we feel about the series thus far, which I am interested to see the last 2 episodes once they air. But I think at this point now, I think we can really come up with a very definitive a definitive makeup of our mind, shall I say, in terms of our reaction to it. So in case you did not know what Moon Knight was, I'll stop talking. You can explain it if you prefer.
Yeah, for those comic nerds out there, Moon Knight is we're getting into the weird. We get into the more of the god stuff in the Marvel universe. This is their way of slipping us into it ever so slightly, because obviously you've seen Thor, we know he's a god, we've seen other stuff like that, but we're getting more into as we get more into the mystical and the magical of the universe, which is where we're leaning. Moon Knight, obviously, Marc Spector, or Mark / Steven, who is under the god Khonshu. He is the avatar for the god Khonshu. And Mark and Steven have a dissociative split personality disorder. And this is the first time that we are dealing with a character like this in the MCU. So
yeah. I don't know if I agree with that. Well, maybe when you talk about the MCU, we'll see. But yeah, to give a little bit more context, Steven Grant, played by Oscar Isaac, his life is starting to come sort of I'm not gonna say possessed, but he's in a sort of he's going through how do I describe this here? He's channeling memories and he's channeling events of another life.
Right.
And once he starts to come to terms with that, once he starts to deal with this dissociated ID disorder, then he realizes that there may be more to this. But on both ends of this, there's enemies all sort of colliding all into one place. And this ultimately lands him into potentially being one of the most powerful gods of Egypt. So I think, like you said, this is definitely Marvel in the MCU taking a step down a path that we haven't seen quite yet. But in terms of the build of the show, I feel like it is very remaniscent of Venom, which is like maybe MCU, maybe not. Because in terms of Venom, you had Eddie being sort of possessed by a symbiote, and he's also having, and you could almost say like a split personality. And the symbiotes are technically gods on their planets, very high intelligence and whatnot. And we see this sort of battle with Steven and with Mark in terms of them possessing one vessel of a body, but the personality switching, but they're constantly mentally talking to each other, channeling each other's memories, channeling each other's abilities, sort of say. And it's that really confliction, which is really cool, because that was one of the things I liked about in Venom, is that sort of camaraderie being built between two. And I liked it in this as well too. Like, while it is a little bit, I'll even say the toning is a little bit the same, not so comedic, but it's still driving down the same path, if you ask me.
I noticed that they only communicated when it was through a mirror. It wasn't like he was just like by himself talking to, like, it had to be some type of reflective surface or something like that for him to communicate with his other self. And I wonder if they intentionally did that on purpose. I'm sure they did. Versus, like you said, with Venom and Eddie Brock, where he's constantly in his head, he's talking to him all the time, and they make those voices differential, obviously, so that you know who's who.
Yeah. All right. Now let's just get into it. I feel like we're dancing around a little bit. Let's just get into the facts here. for 4 episodes in, I'm going to say that I'm intrigued. This did not, by any stretch, push the needle in terms of the MCU, which we see in most projects. We see them do something different, go beyond the limits, and or just provide an idea of something that we haven't yet seen on our television screen. I do not feel that way. One thing is because I feel like we have the Disney Plus version of Moon Knight. And if this had been the Netflix version of it, it would have been a totally different tone.
Oh, definitely.
Anybody who was a fan of Moon Knight knows that, oh, Disney's going to actually do this. Oh, this potentially could be very brutal, very graphic. Anybody that's familiar with the comics, like this could actually be on the lines of Daredevil, Punisher, all of them. That's why I'm, in terms of the toning or not. So this is very safe, very, very Disney Plus ish. And by all means, in opportunities in moments where they could have been rated R in terms of the brutality, the potential gore, it was very much PG-13. So in case anybody just was wondering, was this going to be the show that was going to open up the floodgates? It is not. And even with the new content arriving from Netflix, this show did not do that. This show did not. It stayed very true to the identity of the Disney Plus series that are on the way, and that we had thus far. So I just wanted to make sure that is understood first, because I went into this, and I'm sure other folks did, like, Moon Knight. Oh, okay. Let's see how far, how full tilt might they go, and at all they didn't. So
as a avid reader of comics myself, both, pretty much everything, can't say I've ever read anything Moon Knight. So going to this for me was completely brand new. Like, I knew nothing about the character whatsoever. Like you said earlier, this could have been a show named Moon Knight, and if Marvel wasn't on there, I wouldn't even have known that this was even supposed to be like in the MCU or whatever, because they don't even really touch any of that. Like, it's just like, okay, this is the character, go. Like, they don't talk about anything else. They focus on his issue and everything that's going on. They don't reference anything so far. And like I said, this could just be its own thing. And it's also framed as almost like a horror movie too. And the way it's shot, you know what I mean? A lot of jump scare scenes, a lot of the lights flickering and going off, a lot of the, swap and something happened, type thing. And the way you said earlier, like them being safe. Yeah, they were being safe, but I also think this is the first time we have seen a character actually straight kill somebody, you know what I mean? Versus for the most part of the Avengers are like fighting robots and aliens. So it's okay. But fighting like regular dudes, you don't really see them kill like a human, you know what I mean? For the most part, outside of the bad guys. But then, when Mark or Steven goes from Mark to Steven, whatever, he does his thing and people wind up dead. And they do show it. They show it, they don't show it at the same time. Yeah. So like you said, they are playing within that lines of PG-13 as much as they can. Now that we have Daredevil and Punisher and all that stuff on the Disney Plus brand, I think that maybe they'll start pushing that. But as long as it's on the Disney Plus, in the MCU, they probably won't touch it like that. It won't go into the R territory.
The leads in the show, in Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke and Maya Calamari, all of them, I think, really do bring their characters to life. And I think that there is good continuity amongst them. So as far as the acting performances and bringing the characters to life, I think that's pretty much on par. I mean, I don't think anybody was ever going to think that Oscar couldn't do this. Like, he is absolutely the star of the show, especially going between the different personalities, almost being sort of the accents sort of being schizophrenic at times. I think he really does it really well. And then on the other note, the Moon Knight suits, all of them are tight.
Oh, definitely. I love the way they did
that. It's easily top tier. Every bit of every one of them top tier, really, really good. So, like I said, I don't feel like this pushed the needle for the first 4 episodes. I feel like the build is kind of slow, but the acting is good. The intrigue is there. I do love the fact that like the horror elements and how things are shot. I thought done really well. I hate to kind of make this comparison because I know a lot of people doesn't like this movie, but for a lot of what New Mutants did, this did better. It in every element of this being the first Marvel horror film, this took elements of that and this did it better. And that's just my simple way to put it, for the good things that you liked about it. On that note too, talking about CGI, the transformation CGI is just ridiculously good.
What's funny is like a lot of people complain that they tired of getting the same old out of Marvel, the Marvel Studios brand, and I feel like this is so far different that this is not even going to please the people that claim they want something different. You know what I mean? Like this is so different from what you would normally get out of WandaVision and Loki, because that's all connected to that big picture, and that's going. This is something like I said by itself. Like not I want to say a side story, but as of right now, from the episodes we've seen, I don't see where this would be connected to the big picture, the Doctor Strange and then the Miss Marvel and all that stuff like that, in the grand scheme of the universe. And like I said, now we're touching Egyptian gods and stuff like that, and we just gotta be like, okay, that's just what's happening. You know what I mean? This is the MCU now. Cosmic magic and Egyptian gods.
Yeah.
No more super soldiers.
Another thing I will say too, especially in the second episode, I felt like in terms of CGI, a lot of the action sequences also felt very reminiscent of old school Marvel. And when I say old school, I mean like before you all were acknowledging that these films were Marvel. I'm talking about the Blades, I'm talking about the Daredevils, and then eventually Spider-Man, and those certain style of CGI and animation that we've seen them do some of their, the most iconic moments of those films, and we could get into particular about, certain moments on the side of the building, or, certain aerial fights and whatnot. They definitely went back to kind of OG Marvel in the second episode with it. And I'm not saying that's consistent with the show, but when I saw that out, instantly was like, yeah, this is what I used to really love about Marvel. I'm not saying that that I'm mad that they're not doing it. I just remember it being one of the first things of saying like, wow, like this is insane, And I think that I don't know if that's by design or if that's some type of paying homage or whatever it may be. It just was cool that I felt like when I saw that, I remember seeing some of the classic Marvel films and some of the styling of animation or CGI effects that they did. But overall, it's still Marvel and it's still Disney. The production overall is pretty cool. Like the set location, the world building, all of it is really good. I've never been to Egypt, so I can't sit here to say if it's true to one and whatnot.
That was definitely a studio. That was definitely a backlot somewhere.
Oh, for sure. But it still was impressive. I just constantly saw myself scaling the background of just looking at different things. And although we have Steven kind of going on this journey looking for artifacts and relics, I still found myself much like just looking around, and he's also going on like in this discovery. So he's like pointing to things. So I think beyond what's happening with the characters, I think that you may also find yourself just observing the surroundings of different things. And I'm sure somebody has an Easter egg video popping up soon, which I didn't really look into that much detail. But I just thought that, just the world building and the design of the set, all of that was really good.
That's one of the things that's kind of killing me about this is that it's only 6 episodes. And I feel like this needs a little, to me, it felt like it needed a little bit more time to really get into more of what this particular world of Moon Knight is, involving the gods and all the stuff that's involved with the avatars. And the stuff that comes with it. I just feel like 6 is not enough. And like you said, we got the first 4 episodes, and a lot of it was like slowly paced. And you know what I mean. So by the time we get to where we are now, it's like, all right, man, there's only 2 episodes left. Like we can only get with so much left before we get to the end game of all this.
Yeah. I think it's because we're not used to seeing so much compiled into 6 episodes consistently. It's a scary thing because I feel like for us as fans, and because we're trying to really be invested into the new properties and whatnot, it's like 6 episodes. Can y'all do it? I hope so, but it's not 100% success rate. That's where I'll leave that at.
This stuff, I mean, so far from what I've seen, like I said, we haven't seen all the episodes yet, but this feels like a series that definitely should get a second season, just based off but the only problem is, like, when you get big stars like this, like Oscar Isaac, the time and availability becomes the issue with doing secondary seasons and stuff like that. Yeah. So whereas though, like, Ethan Hawke, he ain't doing nothing, you know what I mean? The woman that plays his wife in this, he's not, you know, she just really started doing her thing. But Oscar Isaac, you know, him being the main character, but obviously, you know, these shows are the setup so that we could just throw them into the movies, and you don't have to be like, oh, who's this? What's going on? And you know, a lot of characters are already established, so they're taking out a lot of the work now that they used to have to do in the movies. So they don't have to try to do origin stories or set up characters in the movies. They can just go. So
yeah,
that goes.
I just want to quickly, because I may have already said this, but again, because I just remember just how I felt, and again, the transformations between Steven and Mark, the consciousness was dope. Like, sort of the phasing between the two was really well done. And while again, I felt like it was sort of a slow build, maybe a slow burn, I felt like about the time I got to episode 4, I really solidified the fact that I came to terms that I like it. And you know, I like that it does stand on its own 2 feet in a separate way. I won't go as far as saying it's refreshing, but I don't watch this and think like this is exactly like something else. Again, it does use sort of similarities as Venom, but it's not. Yes, it does, as I said, made which I felt like almost was paying homage to some of the old school Marvel and some of the animation CGI, but it's still its own show. And by 4 episodes, and I'm definitely like, yeah, I don't mind this. The entire production of it was solid. I mean, one of the other things that I felt like I should have noted too is the theme, which I don't think we get it until the 4th episode. The theme of Moon Knight is really dope. You get the old school Marvel melody in one of the titles screens, but once you get the Moon Knight theme, once he fully embraces who he is, things really kick it to another gear, and I think that's the intrigue to kind of go for. And you know, this is obviously him coming to terms with his other half, his powers, his almost responsibilities, and his mission. And I think that, like, that's why the show is kind of building in a sense, because it is a lot for one man to kind of like wake up and realize, like, yeah, this is now your new life. You have a very sophisticated other individual inside your body here.
They also, and I feel like this is going to be a big thing, but they do it respectfully, you know, handling the split personality disorder, stuff like that. You know, because remember when the whole thing with Split happened, people were going off the handles about that. But I do think they do it respectfully. It's not, you know, they're not making fun of it. This is legitly, you know, showing you the perspective of somebody that is figuring out how to deal with this for the first time, and you know, dealing with how to handle it. You know what I mean? So, you know, but of course it's a comic book property, so you know you got to throw the spectacle in there too. So, yeah, but I do think they do a respectful job of handling the topic.
Another thing I want to say is F. Murray Abraham, who is voice acting Khonshu in this. That right there, I'm telling you,
creepy voice.
Very good. I'm a huge fan of voice actors. I'm always looking to see who's gonna be my next favorite. Impressive. I will say that he has a very menacing voice, a almost sadistic presence. The character itself, the animation of it is really good. The suit, all of that, it comes together really well, and it brings like a really dope element to the show. And when they start to really dabble into the powers and just the visuals with it, and I think it's episode maybe 3 or 4, and it's a scene where they're moving the sky.
Oh yeah, that was dope.
Oh my god. And I mean, like, you're gonna see bystanders looking up at the sky like, what is happening? It was literally my face like, oh my god, this is impressive. And like, for the comments, I mean, you know, some of these things, and I'm saying this come to life, like hitting the comic book points and seeing this come to life, it's really good. I just couldn't even believe still. I guess when they were announced it, I was shocked, but actually now seeing it, I'm still kind of shocked. Like, wow, they're really doing this. Like, Marvel's really doing this. A character that I would not think would be on their 20-year plan is here.
Yeah, I think that was the thing, right? Like hitting all these, like, I guess you would say C grade, CD grade, superheroes that nobody was thinking about. You know what I mean? Like that now they're going to be made, they're going to be pushed up, not only because of these shows, but because of the movies and everything else. But
yeah,
it's pretty cool, man. Like to see these characters, definitely get the push they deserve.
Yeah, and Ethan Hawke as author, because we should just mention him real quick. He's giving you old school Raiden vibes. Raiden from the original Mortal Kombat series. He's definitely giving me old school vibes as far as the look, as far as his presence, and even his like, I don't know, his sort of like energy around other folks. Where it's kind of mystique, and you're kind of like, what is he up to? Is he good? Is he bad? What's his whole mission? Yeah, he's giving you full on that. He does a complete transformation. At one point, I was like, I'm not even sure if that's him. Yeah, that's him.
That's what I was gonna say. I didn't even look like
yeah, but Ethan is definitely one of the notable names in all of entertainment, and he really came a long way since being Jake on Training Day. So you want to go to jail, you want to go home. I mean, that's the classic one. We know. Of course, he's done other things, but you want to go to jail, you want to go home. That's the question.
He's done this too. A lot of the series is at night. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was, because of Conchu or whatever, but a lot of it is nighttime, like a nighttime series.
Yeah, and the low light shots are amazing, and that's what that horror thing does really well. So the horror, I know we say it's production, but also the cinematography in particular, really working with these low light moments to really make things work. Working with closed spaces, really good. All sorts of different things, and even towards the end of the 4th episode, where they start to be in a more brighter setting, they still are able to use those same type of techniques to really bring things like. And this is the last thing I'm gonna add. Then we're gonna give our quick ratings. There is a little bit of comedy coming, and I think that's going to provide great balance for anybody that's like, I don't want to see anything that seems too dark or too heavy or the horror or whatnot. It's by no means that, but I know as soon as you say horror, some people get deterrent that they think it's going to be scary and all this other stuff. It has great balance.
It's the same people that say the movies are too jokey. You know what I mean? It's too many jokes.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah. So ratings, what you think?
If I had to rate it right now off the 4, it's going to get a 2.5 for me. It hasn't completed the puzzle yet.
Yeah.
In the 4 that I saw so far. I mean, obviously, the transformations are cool. I love the variety of the personalities and what that does. Ethan Hawke is very menacing in the show. I don't know what his intention is. I don't know if he's a good guy, or a bad guy, but so far, like I said, it's a 2.5 out of the whole 5 because I haven't gotten the whole puzzle yet. The really creative.
Yep, for me, it's a 3 because I like the idea of being introduced. Now I'm wondering, what are we doing here?
Right.
I need to see how it all plays out. So there is enough intrigue to see how this is all land. And for 4 episodes out of 6, I have a good impression of what this show wants to be. But now I need to see if it's going to follow through. So it has all the right tools to do it. And now that we're here, now that we have already established what the world is and who the characters are, now it starts to focus in on the plot. What is the big dilemma that I need to be invested in? Like, there's things being introduced and talked about, but why should I care? I need to feel like I'm invested in this from that standpoint, and that's where we're not seeing it. What's the intimate threat that's really present there? You know what I mean? Because it doesn't look like there's a threat that's not going to be handled. It looks like there's a threat that's about to be handled for sure. And this is like, well, I don't have no reason to worry, so that's that. But yeah, folks, as we always say, you totally check it out. It is again going to be on Disney Plus March 30th. There are 6 episodes weekly, and the finale going to be on May 4th. So come back, jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts about it when you check it out. Huh?
So that's perfect timing. They do this every time, right into a movie.
That's right.
Strange comes out that week.
That's right. That's how you do it. Help promote yourself. And maybe they're connected. No clues yet, but we'll see. But yes, definitely jump in the comments. Let us know your thoughts about what you do. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon. Thank you for watching, folks.